everyone! So recently I've been getting into more serious books. I feel like I've been reading more literary fiction and also just like books that talk about serious problems and serious topics. And I feel like in today's world, it's really, really important to educate yourself on those topics and continue reading and expanding your knowledge. So in today's video, I wanted to read some banned books because I feel like it's crazy that literature is getting banned, and it's crazy that we're regressing to that point that people cannot access those books anymore. I wanted to educate myself because I haven't read those books. I've only heard about them, and I feel like they probably talk about actual problems that could affect our future, could affect our life. So I will be starting with 1984. I haven't ever read 1984, which is crazy to me. I feel like it's a very classic book for English-speaking countries, for like a school book. I feel like many people have discussed it in school, but we haven't in Poland. I've heard it resembles today's world really, really well, which is a bit concerning because it's supposed to be scary dystopian. And yeah, I feel like I just want to know what this is about. So let's get into it. I actually originally wanted to film this like a week challenge, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to read even 2 books in a week. I just feel like the topics are gonna be a bit heavy and the writing might be a bit hard. So it's not gonna be a week challenge, but the idea was there. One thing about my copy of 1984 is that it's tiny. When you compare it to my face, it's like tiny. So the text is very compact. So I'm hoping it's not going to be too much of an issue, but we'll see. Okay, so I've been reading for a while and I've just reached the end of part 1. And that's 100 pages into the book. So the concept of the book is that Winston is living in a totalitarian government, a state that's ruled by totalitarian rules. Everything is controlled by the government. There is censorship, there is surveillance, they're being watched everywhere. You can't have any thoughts about revolution or any bad thoughts about the government because the thought police is going to find you and get rid of you. And what I find interesting right now is that I saw some people saying that it's very far-fetched, whereas I'm reading it and I'm thinking, wow, this is so close to the truth. And not only in the sense that the America and overall the world right now is really close to this being the truth, maybe not into that extent, but surveillance, the censorship, is all happening and we're all like living in that state. But what I'm thinking about is actually the occupation and the life in Poland after World War II. I feel like the life in Poland after the war in communism was scarily close to that of the book. Everyone could basically rat you out if you're doing something against the government. You were being surveilled, there was censorship, there was no free media, no free speech, nothing like that. And that's what I'm thinking about when I'm reading this book. I'm just thinking, wow, this is what the life was like, or very close to it, because obviously we weren't watched, I wasn't there, but the Polish people weren't watched 24/7, but like it felt like it. From what I've learned in school, that's what it felt like. And that's what I found interesting. Like, how can you say this book is so far-fetched when life was and is so close to it? Yeah, I need to get back to it. I don't know what else is gonna happen. Winston is having some rogue thoughts against the government, and I'm hoping it's gonna get crazy. So I've just gotten to part 3, and to be honest, at the beginning of the book, it was a bit hard to read because the main character was a bit misogynistic, and I feel like he just talked with such an inner monologue that made you think he thought that he was better than everyone else. And that was really hard for me because he treated everyone like absolute scum of the earth. It was just like hard, you know? It's getting better now with his inner monologue. He's changing a little bit of the narrative. He's changing inside. This is a minor spoiler, but another part that was really hard for me to read was the Goldstein book, when Winston's reading that book, just because it read like a history book, just because it's really dense and it's just hard to really compute everything that's being said. But now in part 3, something is actually happening, which I didn't think was gonna happen. I wasn't expecting that at all. I think I only have like 80 pages left, and I think part 3 is the last part. I have no idea how this is going to go. So I finished 1984. I have a lot of thoughts. I don't know if this is the best book ever, but I feel like the message of it is very, very important. And because of that, I'm giving it 4 stars. I went down from 4.5 because the more I kept thinking about it, the point of the book where Winston reads a book of the ideology of Goldstein or whatever it was, I feel like it was a very slap way of really showing the meaning of 1984 a bit, because I just felt like I couldn't critically think of the meaning myself. I was just literally getting it thrown at my face. So that's my first criticism of this book, but I feel like I can get over that fact because I think the story itself is so shocking. It's a very unsettling book, but also just like crazy. I don't know. I read some reviews saying that it's a strenuous book and it's not a very entertaining read. And I don't know if I can agree with that because I felt like I was very, very entertained. I feel like this had plot twists which kept me entertained throughout the book. And I guess it can be strenuous in the style of writing, and I can get that it can be a little bit difficult to read or understand at certain points, but I feel like it wasn't like boring. I did listen to most of it on audiobook when I was like doing chores around the house, and it was definitely much easier to just listen to it and absorb it all through listening. And like I said before, the beginning of the book was a bit difficult for me just to get over the narrative of like kind of a misogyny and how Winston thinks about women. But I feel like that narrative changes as the book progresses. I feel like Winston changes his thoughts and feelings the more he connects with like his humanity. Overall, I think that the book really, really sets out the dangers of censorships and the lack of freedom, the lack of free thoughts, and how dangerous propaganda can be. And I feel like that's such an important thing to understand because it's evident nowadays that propaganda can work really well, and how it worked in 1984 is very similar, which I just think is unimaginable, but it is happening. So yeah, like it just warns us to be critical of ourselves, of everything we see, of the government and of each other. Like we just have to really use our brains, I guess. And yeah, I liked it for that sense. I liked how it paints the world like that because it's true. So yeah. For my second book, I wanted to read The Handmaid's Tale. I feel like it's going to be very feminist, which I am in need of. I feel like I need a little bit of that feminist power, woman power, you know? Like, I know this is going to be about a lot of oppression and how women are mistreated as a whole. All I really know about this book is that The handmaids are the women that are made to breed, and that in itself is horrifying. I feel like it's going to be very eye-opening, even though I already know how women can be mistreated and already treated as like the vehicle for just babies. To take away the choice the woman has to have a baby or not, yeah, it's just something that I feel very strongly about, and I feel like I'm going to resonate with this book quite a lot. I've only read one chapter and it's already so like heavy, but I feel like it's going to get me. I think this might become my favorite book. The way it's written is very interesting. Kind of, it's very lyrical, which is interesting. I'm now more than 100 pages into The Handmaid's Tale and I am really enjoying it. Basically, the story is happening in like the near future following the decreasing birth rates in America, and America is called the Republic of Gilead, and there is a regime put in place that involves everyone, women and men. Men can't really do anything to women. They can't touch them. There's no magazines, there's no books, basically no media. TV can be accessed by a select few, and there's not many channels, basically just the news, and the news also kind of lie. I feel like they depict not true things, at least from what we know, and there is an ongoing war that we don't really know if there is actually any war. And that's what's interesting, is that in both of these books there's like this omnipresent war going on, and we don't have any facts of or proof that this war is actually real. And I feel like that is like a tool to just instill fear in people, in the population, to ensure that they're following the regime and the rules that are going on. But basically the women are divided into certain groups. There is a couple of groups that a woman can be a part of, and there's that like the rank that she holds. One of them is the commandeer's wife, which has the most. There is Connor wives that we don't really know much about. There's Marthas that take care of the household, bake, cook, clean, and there is the handmaids, which are obviously the kind of breeders, and their sole purpose of life is to bring life into the world. And if they can't succeed or they stray from the rules, they are punished. And we don't really know how they're punished. It's kind of all just alluded to. We don't know any like certainties. I think it's very terrifying to read, but it's so good. I'm really liking it, as can be seen from the tabs. I'm just tabbing away. I feel like it's written so well. It's so easy to read. I feel like the style of writing is very beautiful as well. It's kind of like a thriller, but also it has funny moments and very existential moments. So that's what I'm liking the most. The further we go in to the book, the more we switch between timings, which I think adds a lot of intrigue and also speeds up the action a lot. I feel like because we switch between the times so much, there's always something happening, there's always new thoughts, there's nothing like monotone, which I really like, because I was reading a book that had a very slow plot before this, and it was a struggle to get through. So this is a great pace. As I thought, this book was so powerful. It was frightening, but it was just so real. It really shows that if we succumbed to those traditional values, this is how we would be treated. We would be nothing. We wouldn't be able to self-express. We wouldn't be able to buy anything. We wouldn't be able to work. We wouldn't be able to have anything independently from men. And we would just be possessions or pets. We would just be treated as baby making machines or another job such as cleaning or baking. We would just have that one purpose in life. We wouldn't be able to do anything else. And this book really portrays that well. And also the way it explores the justification from the men, which was actually terrifying. They all try to justify how the world works and how they have the power and how women shouldn't have any power. The men in this book, they try to make themselves seem as saviors. And we also see how these values and those rules don't even work for men, because the men weren't supposed to have anything to do with women. They were supposed to only have that household and only be able to do that with their women. But in the book we see what happens. It can't be stopped. The narrator was justifying it in her own mind, and she was repressing her past, she was repressing her memories, and also what she had to do to kind of get through it. I feel like this is a book that every woman should read at least once in her life. I think I'm gonna read it probably again sometime. I don't know when, but this is a 5-star read, and I really do believe that every woman should read it. I think I definitely prefer The Handmaid's Tale because it really shows how oppressed women are and how the government does target women and how regimes and limits and rules and laws really oppress women. I think 1984 is a great story and a great warning, but I feel like this depicts the real life much more truthful. I enjoyed reading both of them. I enjoyed kind of getting to know these dystopian ideas and the discussion on society and the governments. If you haven't read those books, I highly recommend it. I know 1984 is very easily accessible on YouTube if you want to listen to it. I actually thrifted this book and also got the audiobook on Libby, which is an audiobook site that has audiobooks that your library has. And I feel like every library has The Handmaid's Tale. So those books are very, very accessible. So check them out. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.